let's pick up where we left off last time. So last time we were talking about all the terrible things that could happen. We put it on pieces of paper and we set it aside and we didn't think about it until we're ready to do the next step. I know that seems kind of scary, but you wrote it down, you're not going to forget. Now this week, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about what to do if you need to get out. So some emergencies you need to stay in. You probably remember the pandemic where we all had to stay home all the time. That was a staying in kind of emergency. Other times it's going to be you have to get out. Fires, you have to get out, right? Sometimes floods, you have to get out. Sometimes your neighborhood's being evacuated for some reason. Maybe there's a gas leak in your house, or maybe just the carbon monoxide alarm went off. Those are all reasons you need to leave. And if the carbon monoxide alarm goes off, please leave the house, call the fire department, let them figure out what's going on. You do not need to be figuring that out yourself unless you're absolutely certain that you're safe. And I'm not confident that you are. I've seen carbon monoxide poisoning. You don't want that to happen. So let's talk about getting out. First of all, you need to have smoke alarms. You need to have a carbon monoxide alarm. You need to be able to know that it's time to get out, right? Second of all, when you do get out, you should have 2 ways out of every room if possible. I know in modern buildings sometimes, or old buildings too, it's not always planned that way. Try to figure something out, if at all possible. So like the room next to me, going up the stairs is one option, going out the window is another option, or coming into this room and going out this window is an option. So knowing all the ways out of a room is really, really helpful. Next, make sure each of those ways actually can work. For example, I couldn't climb out that window if there wasn't furniture underneath. We designed our rooms partly around escaping the rooms. Have we ever needed to? No. Have I had patients who needed to? Yes. And that is why I make sure we're able to get out. Because it's one of those things you hopefully will never need, kind of like life insurance, but if you need it, you hope you have it. Same thing here. So I have an armchair right there, partly because it's nice having an armchair there, but partly because I can climb on the back of it and get out the window. And all of my rooms are planned that way, where if you're going to have to climb to get out of something, there is a very conveniently placed large piece of furniture that you can climb to get out of something. And actually our window well outside here, we designed so it has steps. And so it's actually very pretty. It's like brick and, but it's designed with steps up the middle. So you just like walk right out. Super simple. So that way I know people can get out of this room. Each room has a plan like that. So I want you to go through your place where you live, whether it's an apartment, a condo, a house, and figure out what are the 2 ways out of each room in your house. If you don't have 2 ways, at least have one, right? And I want you to map it out and make sure everyone in your house knows how to get out of each room. Now, depending on the age of your children, this might be a little bit different. And also how far they go might be different. So for example, I have teenagers now. So they have plans for if we have to evacuate the neighborhood and they're home alone all day, they can get from here to grandma's house across town by themselves. So they're teenagers. They can do things like that. They both have Uber on their phones. They can both ride transit. They have ways of getting around. A little bit different when they were younger. If you have a little kid, depending how little, very little, you're just going to go get them, right? But once they're old enough, they're going to be doing things alone. It's helpful for them to know how to get out of that room, because then you can just look on the baby monitor if you are like me and you still had it when they were in preschool. If you see them climb out a window, you don't have to go into a dangerous situation. You go to the other side of the house and fetch them where they got out on their own. So from the time the kids were about preschool age, we started practicing getting out of the house, which sounds like it would be scary, but we just treat it as a really fun thing. And in the case of my kids, they were reliable about not getting out when they weren't supposed to. Once they got to a certain age, under a certain age, especially the younger one, crackers. It was chaotic. And also they'd bring chickens in the house. Not advisable to teach them other ways of doing crazy stuff. But after a certain age, it was totally fine. Now, if you have a kid that's not safe for, please don't teach them to escape if that's going to be dangerous for them. But once you've decided it's safe for them, go ahead, teach them how to escape from each room of the house and when to. If they hear a fire alarm or smoke alarm and, they don't hear like an all clear or whatever, decide what it is in your family that's going to be that criteria that they need to get out. And like I said, make it a fun game to get out. But then they need to know where to go. So imagine you're 7 years old, you climb out your window, and now what do? That's kind of a scary thought, right? So we also practiced where to go. So which gate do you go out of if you end up in the backyard? Or if you're in the side yard, where do you go from there? And where do you go from there? So our neighbor's house 2 doors down, their front porch was our family meeting place for inside the neighborhood. So my kids knew if they could stay right by the house, they just went straight in front of the house on the sidewalk. But they also knew that if for some reason they couldn't do that, it was freaking cold. It was horrible weather. It was, not safe to stay close by. They went to our neighbor's house and they waited on the porch there. We also taught them, because kids worry about animals, to just leave the doors and windows open and let the animals get out on their own. because animals will generally get out on their own if you just leave things open. And I showed them like on next door, which is like a very active place in our neighborhood. I never go there. Crazy people go there sometimes, and it's very active, but they do always find people's pets. So I was like, if our pets get out, people will find them and we will get them back, but it's safer for us all to just get out. So I taught them that from the time they were little. They heard it so many times. They just know you leave the house, you leave everything open. And that's really important to tell kids because otherwise they might want to go back for their dog or their cat or whatever. Firefighters usually will also make sure to get dogs and cats out if they can, if it's safe to do so. So just something for them to know too. All right, so you need a close by meeting place. Right in front of the house is one of ours. 2 doors down our neighbor's porch is another one. Depending on how old the child is, once they're old enough to walk someplace where they're going to get further away, you want them to know where to go if they do that, right? If there's chaos, if there's a lot of emergencies, they don't know where to go, them knowing we always meet in the office building at the edge of our neighborhood, which is where we meet, in the lobby, which is open 24/7, they know to go there. They know it's heated. They know that there's actually an emergency camera there, so someone will see them. They know there's a trash can there in case, I don't know, they need to throw something away. So they know exactly where to go if they're going to leave the neighborhood for some reason. That's where our family meets. And then as they get older, if you have teenagers or even if you're 2 adults with no kids at all, you need to know where you're going to meet if you can't get back to your house. And it's really helpful to have someone outside of your immediate family who's kind of your contact person in case of emergency, who you're going to tell things. So like we have our group text with our whole family, of course, but also my mom and my sister are outside the immediate area contact and safe places. And so my family knows we go to grandma's house, and my kids know how to get there by light rail, by Uber. I guess they could probably get there along the bike trail, but it's a long ride. But I think they're both aware that grandma's along the same bike trail, just like miles away. So, that's something where if for some reason, let's say that my husband and I were both gone all day, one of my kids was home alone or both of them were, and they need to get away, they're old enough, they have Uber on their phones, they can just Uber over to grandma's house, right? Or let's say we're all in different places and we can't get back to the house and they need to know where to go. Children aren't released into the wild. My kids travel on their own now. They leave where they are. If they get to our neighborhood and can't get in, they need to know what to do, right? So I know that all seems like way too many places to think about. You don't have to think about all of them. I'm telling you why, but you don't have to tell your kids why. You can if you want to, but you can just teach them from the time they're little, starting with where you go if you have to leave the house if there's an emergency. And if you don't want to talk to them about fire yet, tell them about an alarm going off or carbon monoxide. Most kids aren't scared of carbon monoxide because they don't understand it. And where in front of the house, neighbor's house, next apartment building over, wherever the close by thing is. As they get older, you just teach them the next thing. And to them, it's going to be a very natural progression. If you're adults living together, you can just talk about it. You can handle it, right? So have a plan for these different layers of where you'll go in different situations. So our whole family, we have a whole extended family here, and everyone kind of knows where we can all kind of congregate. My house is the place for everybody else. Plus minus, my house is pretty small, but we make it work. And then my mom's house is our place if we have to leave here. So that way everyone in the family knows where to go if there's an emergency. Next time, we're going to be talking about more details about what to do in special situations. So stay tuned for that because that's super important also. Today we kind of talked a little bit about special situations, pets and kids and things, but next time we're talking more detail.